In the last section, we put together a very tiny, very basic, very boring program. And so I'm not going to lie, yes, a Hello World type program is very boring. And I know it's something that you don't really like to see in a course. You want to see something more usable, more flashy, more interesting. However, I think you're going to be really surprised here because even though this is a very boring program, we're going to go over it line by line. And I think you're going to be very surprised to see exactly how much knowledge you can gain by studying every line of code inside this file. So in this video and the next couple of videos, we're going to break this thing down line by line and use it to get a much better handle on some of the basic fundamental concepts around Go. Now, I took the liberty of already kind of analyzing every line inside of here. And after I did so, I came up with 5 basic questions that we can use to get a better sense on what that program is doing. So these are the 5 basic questions that I want to answer. And as soon as we answer these, we'll have a better sense of the fundamentals of Go. So first off, how do we run the code inside of our project? Like, we've written some code out, but how do we actually execute it? How do we run it? I also want to know what the very first line of the program means, specifically the line that says package main. And so I want to figure out, what is a package? What does main mean? What good is that for us? Next, I want to figure out the next line down, import FMT. I want to figure out what that func thing is down towards the bottom. And then finally, it looks like the code inside of that main.go file is organized in some fashion, right? Because we specifically put package main at the top, then we did import, and then we wrote a function. And so I want to get a better sense of whether or not there is a general pattern that we want to follow whenever we are writing Go code. Okay, so these are the 5 questions that we're going to try to answer by studying the code inside of this very simple, very straightforward program. So let's get started right now with question number 1. How do we run the code inside of our project? How do we run the code? I'm going to flip on over to my terminal. So here's my terminal, and you'll notice that I have already navigated to my project directory of Hello World. Inside of here, I've got my main.go file. So at this point, you should pause the video really quick, pop open your terminal, and navigate to wherever you created our first project directory. Now that I'm inside of here, I'm going to make use of that go command that we tested out earlier. Remember, we entered just go by itself, and we got the big old help message right here. Remember, the go command is kind of our portal to working with all things Go on our local machine. So this go command gives us the ability to compile and execute projects that we put together. Let's figure out how to run our first project file, main.go. We're going to write go run main.go. When we do so, we'll instantly see the message hi there printed out on the screen. Okay, so hey, that's an easy one. To run the code in our project, we write go run and then the name of the file that we want to execute. Now, obviously, I want to tell you a lot more about how we run code inside of our project. So let's kind of break down this go command right here and figure out what it can really do for us. All right, so we're going to pull up a diagram here. Here we go. Okay, and this is a diagram of some of the different commands that are available to us with the Go CLI, or command line interface. So we just tested out the command go run. Go run can take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, a handful of files. It compiles all the code in those files and then instantly executes the result. So anytime we have like 1 or 2 files, we say go run and then the name of the files, 1 or more, that we want to compile and execute, and boom, off to the races we go. Now on the other hand, we also have a command called go build. Go build is very much like go run, and that's why I want to spend a little bit of time to make sure that the difference between the two is at least reasonably clear. So go run is used to compile and immediately execute a program. On the other hand, go build is used to just compile a program. So go build just compiles it and it does not actually execute it. If we flip back over to our command line and run go build main.go, you'll see that we do not get any hi there printout on the screen. But if we now list out all the files and folders inside this directory, you're going to see a new file called main. If you're on Windows, you'll probably see this reflected as main.exe. So this is an actual executable file that was built out of our source code of main.go. If you're on Windows, or excuse me, if you're on Mac, you can now run this file by running /main. And if you're on Windows, you can run main.exe to execute this file. Okay, so again, difference between go run and go build. Go build compiles the file. Go run compiles and executes it. Now, some of the other common tools that are attached to the Go CLI we'll go through very quickly. We're going to cover a couple of these later on in the course as well. Go format is used to automatically format all the code inside of all of our different files. We'll see a pretty good example of Go format very shortly when we start working on our first project. Go install and go git are two commands that are used to handle dependencies inside of our projects. So if we want to use code that's been written by someone else, we can use these commands to get access to it on our own personal projects. Finally, go test is used to run and execute any test files that are associated with the current project. And we're definitely going to see a good example of this command as well. All right, so I think that kind of answers question number 1 here. How do we run the code inside of our project? We use the Go command line tool. We can instantly run the file, or we can build it and then run it in the future at some point ourselves. So that's, I think, going to answer question number 1. Let's take a quick break and then continue with our next question in the next video. So I'll see you in just a minute.